My fellow Southern Cameroonians, wherever you are, um, I am appalled. I am appalled at, the kind of, you know, heartlessness that I've seen among so many, English speaking Cameroonians. We call ourselves Southern Cameroonians and Anglophones who are living in diaspora. I see women and men, um, you know, uh, standing up for violence, for bloodshed and killing. I see people rejoicing and laughing and celebrating, circulating dead bodies of victims that are slaughtered in the southern Cameroon territory on daily basis. I am appalled at the heartlessness, and I don't know the kind of people that this kind of people are, but it would seem to me that they really take delight in what they're doing. And for the first time, I must say this, that please, it's really strange. What you people are doing is very strange. You are not the first, kinds of human beings that have walked the face of this earth. These wars and violence have been around for a long time. But I've never seen women, I've never seen people in this century go on social media and advocating for killings, advocating for genocide and ethnic cleansing by hiding behind a brutal regime, a ruthless dictator. Inciting and provoking a regime that they're going to kill people mercilessly because you want to use that to build a case for whatever is your hidden agenda. We all have been fighters and activists. We have all played our roles and contributed, to significant changes in Cameroon when we were youth, when we were still young. There's nothing, that is happening that is new. Cameroonians who are hungry for change, they are entitled to a peaceful revolt, what is called popular uprising. There are so many ways that is happening. They boycott the election to, express their indignation, or they participate in the election and then they contest the outcome of the election. I think that is a very non-violent, peaceful, and constructive, way to go about, changing a corrupt status quo like the one in Cameroon. For those of you who are, citing the Social Democratic Front Party, of course, that generation of Anglophones formed a political party. They rallied Francophones to join the platform. They went to the elections and they lost. We all came to the unanimous conclusion or agreement that the elections were stolen from them. Well, at the time, Cameroonians, they had a golden opportunity to revolt because popular uprising has been effective in other countries and Cameroon should not be an exception. But what has happened, if you observe the pattern of corruption in Cameroon and the nonchalance of the people, is the fact that the everyday citizen in Cameroon is open to being corrupted with 5,000 francs, with 500, with bags of rice, salt, maggi, and oil by politicians who bribe them, who corrupt them. And you have heard Francophones speaking out as well, condemning this behavior, condemning the character of the people who are responsible for the system that oppress them because they enable that system by their own inherent corrupt behavior. That is exactly what is happening in Cameroon, and that the people need to examine themselves, and if possible, for those of you who claim that you know everything, to educate them, to enlighten them, to coach them, to guide them, to influence them in a positive way so that they will know how to effectively bring about systematic change. without, any, unnecessary bloodshed. Popular uprising is when the people unanimously agree that they can no longer tolerate a regime of tyranny, and that they will all come out to demonstrate that they no longer give their consent to those who govern them in the event where they would lose their mandate to govern them. The world is waiting to see people to protest, to come out, to say that we don't give our consent to this government. The world is not going to pay attention to warlords who sit overseas and they are spitting fire of violence and talking about bloodshed as if it is very easy. People who cannot wear the shoes of mothers, who cannot wear the shoes of the young people whose dead bodies are paraded on social media, who rush to blame other people when they are perpetrators, when they know that all what they are trying to do here is to evoke, the notion of genocide and ethnic cleansing for whatever reason, whereas this is preventable. It is important. That is where so many people are coming from, is questioning your moral authority in that country for sitting overseas and talking about violence when you cannot wear the shoes of the violent, talking about killings and war when you cannot wear the shoes of the people who are going to be victimized. For those who are truly parents and they have children, they have families, they've seen the bloodshed, and they don't think, and I included, that the approach of whoever is on social media doing videos and calling, for people to fight violently, to kill, and they call it self-defense. But who have you defended? Who have you defended? There are so many opposition leaders in Cameroon. They've been around for a long time. Everybody thinks that their opinion counts. In 2011, over 23 people, they contested the presidency, and they were each given 30 million francs each. They went to the election and they lost because they were fighting against one person. 23 people were trying to unseat one person. To begin with, when they changed the constitution, everybody was silent. When Blaise Compaoré in Burkina Faso changed the constitution, the Burkinabés, they rose up. They revolted. In Cameroon, people were silent. The opposition don't want to unite to send forward a unique candidate. They call that democracy and that they have a right. They believe that they can win. You all disagree with them. So if anybody really wants, to contest what is happening in Cameroon, then they should do what other people are doing. Why not form a political party and then you educate and mobilize the people the same way that you believe you're doing now, and then contest the election, fight against the corruption by the Supreme Court, and draw the attention of the international community, and then we all rally behind you people in a very peaceful, non-violent manner, and to contest it. It was not the fault of the people. The Social Democratic Front Party, when they lost the election, they had the population. They would have mobilized the people to stand up and to contest the election. But all the party people, and there were even foreigners, Nobel Peace laureates who came to the country to appeal for peace, and that it was not worth it for people who love peace and who believe in non-violent philosophy. It's not worth it. War is not worth it. And it is so strange that people sit in the diaspora so safe, and you are talking about violence and spitting fire of violence. Please, why not pack your things, take your family and your children, and go and face that violence? It doesn't make sense. It's sheer hypocrisy, and it's about time for us to show some sympathy, to show a little bit of humanity to the victims back in the territory, those mothers who are crying how their children are being killed. And all you say is that, well, their children have not died in vain. They have died fighting for freedom. It's not resonating. It's not. One last thing. As I ponder over all these things and I look at history, what I see, and I'm in so much in pain, what I see is the fact that in every of these conflicts and wars, whether they are post-election violence, thousands and thousands of people have died and nothing has happened. In Kenya in 2007, over how many people were killed after the post-presidential election? The international community, they ranted and ranted. The International Criminal Court of Justice, they tried to go after the president of Kenya. It didn't work. Kenyans themselves, they were opposed to any measure that was undertaken by the ICJ to prosecute Kenya Uhuru. My dear friends, it is important that you think about preserving lives. The process of change is always long and winding. Cameroonians have to be educated upon how to bring about change. You have to get rid of that corrupt nature of Cameroonians, most of them who are ready to accept 500 francs as bribe, 10,000 and bags of salt and Maggi. If the population is not ready for change, you cannot force them. You can't force people, deceive them with illegality because you want to prove and to demonstrate and to show something to the international community. We got to tell the people the truth. Try to convince them. Try to persuade them. That is exactly what people are talking. I've heard Francophone women really decrying the fact that people are taking 10,000 francs from the regime and that would they continue to take that for the next 7 years if Biya retains the power. Educating people and persuading them in order to enhance their ability to bring about change, to change the status quo, is very quintessential for any platform. But to think that you can just manipulate people and send them to be slaughtered so that you rush somewhere and talk about ethnic cleansing and talk about genocide, it is not a panacea to whatever are your voting ambition. And the reason why I say this is because we should be thinking about over 200 to about 500,000 to 1 million people. If you want to pursue this part of violence, that is how many people could possibly be slaughtered and killed before anybody in the international community can even think about intervening in Cameroon. You should stop lying to families in Cameroon. Stop deceiving people. This is not fun. This is not fun. Those of you who call yourself activists on social media and you are bragging, go to Cameroon. Che Ayaba, Akwanka, Mark Beretta, Tapang Ivo, Chris Anu, and all those women, all of you are on social media and you are talking about how we all have fought for change in Cameroon. We have been fighting that government since the 1980s. Anglophones in our time, we saw changes in that country. This Anglophone marginalization issue never started today. One of the things that we never wanted to see happen was to see innocent people killed only because we wanted to bring about change. We pursued the non-violence, we revolted, we risked our lives, and we made it. We achieved result. SDA was launched, we were part of SDA. The corrupt nature of Burundi should not have stopped us to create a revolution within the Social Democratic Party so that we take over the party that was the party of the people. The Social Democratic Front Party was not Burundi's party. But we allow Burundi to make himself chairman for life. And apparently he ran out of ideas. He became really, a man of the past. And that's where the frustration comes in, because so many people are looked up to the Social Democratic Front Party. with Mr. Paul Biya over 85 years old, it is a system, it's a regime. Whether you boycott the presidential election or not, the fact here is that who are you sitting overseas and talking about killings and bloodshed? And in fact, I would hope that American politicians and American citizens, British citizens, Germans, and anybody in the world, and those who write about this war, like the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the Reuters, and all the Voice of America, Equinox, and all these people out there in the world, that please, you got to question this group of people overseas who are talking. And who are they? Are they citizens of Africa? Are they citizens of Cameroon? You've got to question their legality, their legitimacy. Who has given them authority to be perpetuating violence and war in the continent of Africa? They're living in free societies. In this country, the United States of America, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King pursued a nonviolent philosophy. And we all agree that it was successful. So too was Mandela. And that is how we black people in Africa have found solace in America, because of the Civil Rights Movement and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Can anybody take a moment to reflect and imagine what would have happened if Martin Luther King had pursued armed struggle? So who are these people? Who are these individuals here who are inciting a regime that you know that it's a brutal regime to kill the people, so that you rush to the United States Congress, you rush to the British Parliament, you rush to the European Parliament and talk about ethnic cleansing and genocide? Why do you do that when you know that you can prevent that? Our people should not be sacrificed on the altar of selfish ambition, and those who have voting ambition, who are trying to, perpetuate a twisted narrative of war and violence. Those who put Paul Biya in power, they can tell Paul Biya today that, Paul Biya, your time is up. We need to know how to navigate this diplomatically, to understand global affairs, global politics, geopolitics, and how diplomacy works, and to be patient and to endure, but to be consistent, focused, and to be assertive. You are talking about, how you want to, but people are not. People still want to do their own things their own way, because we are not building consensus. We are not pursuing the ideology of referendum. We are not empowering the people to, to demonstrate peacefully with peace plan, with the United Nations flag. If you want the United Nations to have jurisdiction over Southern Cameroon, to be a third party to dispute resolution, then you've got to identify with the United Nations. And the only way you identify the United Nations is for our people to protest peacefully with the United Nations flag and the peace plan, and not with some other illegal flag that is going to provoke the regime to keep killing the people. You're sending them to go and die in vain, to die when they're not supposed to die. You are telling them that they should go and be killed because freedom must come through violence. Where is it written? And lastly, for those of you cite American War of Independence, Americans did not go to war stupidly and foolishly with the kind of arrogance and ignorance that some of you are indulged in. You go back and read, and if you want some lectures, 101 on American history, American War of Independence, and how American, Declaration of Independence came about, I think I have established that in an audio very briefly. But please, it is about time for the international community to know that those who are living overseas and perpetuating unnecessary, unjust war against the people of Southern Cameroon by hiding behind the regime of dictator Paul Biya, that they are equally perpetrators of any ethnic cleansing, of any genocide in that country. And we are calling for an international investigation. We are calling for a special community. We're calling on the World Crime Tribunal to be set up in that country in a post-violent, reconstruction, so that every person that is involved will be brought to justice, whether it involves Paul Biya, his military, or involves some of these warlords. They are not victims. They are perpetrators, because they will have to declare their citizenship. They will declare their nationality. No, we cannot sit quiet. We cannot be silenced. We cannot be silent when young women, when mothers, when youths are being slaughtered and killed, and they're crying, and we see dead bodies, countless dead bodies on a daily basis, and others are relaxing, and they keep talking about blood and killings and war as if it's a child's play. It is wrong, and it must be condemned. Thank you. Jonathan Awasu.